Judge Robert Harrison stood before the ornate mirror in his chambers, meticulously adjusting his crimson tie for the third time that morning. The antique grandfather clock in the corner, a family heirloom passed down through 3 generations of lawyers, chimed 9 times. His smartphone buzzed insistently on the mahogany desk, reminding him of the mounting traffic cases awaiting his attention. "Claire," he called out to his judicial assistant, "how many cases do we have before lunch?" His voice carried the weight of 20 years on the bench, a position he'd worked tirelessly to achieve since graduating from Princeton Law. 32, Your Honor," Claire responded, appearing in the doorway with a stack of manila folders. "And the Martinez twins case has been rescheduled for tomorrow." She placed the files on his desk, each one color-coded according to the type of traffic violation. Robert sighed, running his fingers through his silver-streaked hair. Mondays always brought an influx of weekend incidents, but this morning felt particularly heavy. He missed his usual morning tennis match at the country club, and his mood reflected it. The coffee from his premium Italian machine wasn't quite hitting the spot today. Across town, in the upscale Forest Hills district, Superior Court Judge Kim Rodriguez was having a very different kind of morning. The rhythmic thump of pop music filled the exclusive Platinum Pilates studio as she held a perfect plank position, her workout clothes bearing subtle designer logos. At 42, she took pride in maintaining both her sharp mind and physical fitness. "Great form," Judge Rodriguez called out Marcus, the instructor who'd been training her for the past 3 years. 5 more seconds. Kim's smartwatch vibrated, displaying a reminder about her upcoming presentation at the National Judicial Conference. Her topic, modernizing justice. Implementing AI and technology in contemporary courts had already generated buzz among her colleagues. As the youngest Superior Court judge in the state's history, she'd earned a reputation for bringing fresh perspectives to an often traditional system. Grabbing her designer gym bag, Kim rushed to her Tesla Model S, parked in the studio's premium spot. The car's display showed she had exactly 47 minutes to make it to the conference center downtown. Plenty of time, she thought, plugging in her destination. The navigation system calculated the fastest route, avoiding the morning traffic on the expressway. As she drove, Kim mentally rehearsed her presentation points. Her journey from a humble beginning to her current position had taught her the importance of preparation. Her father, who'd built a successful food truck empire from a single taco stand, had instilled in her the value of hard work and attention to detail. The autumn sun painted the city skyline in warm hues as both judges went about their morning routines, unaware that their paths would soon cross in an unexpected way. Judge Harrison settled into his chambers, beginning to review the day's cases with his usual methodical approach. Meanwhile, Judge Rodriguez's Tesla glided through the city streets, its advanced driver assistance system helping her navigate the morning traffic with ease. Neither could have predicted how a simple traffic stop would soon challenge their perspectives and change their lives. The morning continued to unfold, each minute bringing them closer to an encounter that would ripple through the state's judicial community and beyond. The morning sun caught the polished surface of Kim's Tesla as she smoothly accelerated through the intersection. The light had been yellow, giving her plenty of time to clear the crossing legally. Her presentation files were safely stored on her tablet, and despite the slight delay at the Pilates studio, she was still on schedule. The flash of red and blue lights in her rearview mirror came as a surprise. Kim checked her speed display, a perfect 35 miles per hour in a 35 zone. She guided her car to the curb, movements calm and practiced. Through her mirror, she watched a young officer approach, his uniform crisp and new, badge catching the sunlight. Officer James Martinez was 3 months out of the academy, proud of his position with the city's finest. He graduated top of his class, and his superior officers had praised his attention to detail. This morning marked his first solo patrol without a training officer, and he was determined to prove himself. "License and registration, please," Martinez requested, his voice carrying the careful authority of someone still growing into their role. He noticed the car's luxury interior, the expensive workout clothes, but maintained his professional demeanor. Kim reached for her glove compartment, movements deliberate and smooth. "Officer, I believe there might be a misunderstanding. The light was yellow when I entered the intersection." Her voice carried the measured tone she used in her courtroom, neither confrontational nor submissive. Martinez glanced at her license, noting her address in Forest Hills. "Ms. Rodriguez, our traffic cameras showed the light had turned red. I have to follow protocol." He didn't mention that he'd been specifically warned about giving preferential treatment to drivers of expensive cars. Kim pulled up her Tesla's dashboard camera app, which continuously recorded her drives. "Officer Martinez, I respect your position, but my car's system records all trips. Would you like to review the footage? It clearly shows the yellow light." The young officer shifted his weight, uncertainty flickering across his face. His training hadn't covered what to do when a driver had video evidence readily available. Still, he'd been taught to stand firm once a decision was made. "You can present that evidence in traffic court, ma'am. For now, I have to issue the citation." As he returned to his patrol car to process the ticket, Kim noticed his slight hesitation, the way his shoulders tensed. She remembered her early days as a junior attorney, the pressure to appear confident even when uncertain. Her fingers drummed lightly on the steering wheel as she waited, her mind already formulating her court strategy. Martinez returned with the citation, explaining the process with textbook precision. "You have 30 days to either pay the fine or contest it in court. All the information is printed here, including the court date and location." Kim accepted the ticket with a slight smile that puzzled the young officer. "Thank you, Officer Martinez. Have a good day." She waited until he returned to his vehicle before pulling out her phone and making a quick call to her assistant. "Maya, could you pull the traffic camera footage from the intersection of Palmer and 5th for the past hour? And please check my schedule for the traffic court date." She paused, listening. "Yes, I'll handle this one personally. Something tells me it might be interesting." As Kim merged back into traffic, Officer Martinez watched her departure, unaware that this routine traffic stop would soon become one of the most memorable moments of his career. The marble halls of the county courthouse echoed with Kim's footsteps as she made her way to traffic courtroom 304. Her designer athleisure wear, a perfectly coordinated set in charcoal gray, stood out among the sea of suits and uniforms. She'd chosen to come straight from her morning tennis match, a subtle statement about priorities and power. Maya had compiled an impressive evidence package, time-stamped dashcam footage, traffic light sensor data, and even satellite imagery showing weather conditions. Perhaps it was overkill for a simple traffic ticket, but Kim Rodriguez hadn't become the youngest superior court judge by leaving things to chance. Inside the courtroom, the morning session was in full swing. Judge Harrison sat elevated behind his bench, his crimson tie perfectly centered, handling cases with assembly line efficiency. "Next case," he called out, barely glancing up from his papers. The fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across his features, emphasizing the deep lines earned from 2 decades of judgments. Docket number 2023 T475, Rodriguez versus State, the clerk announced, her voice carrying the monotony of routine. Kim approached the podium, noting how Judge Harrison's eyes flickered briefly over her athletic wear before returning to his papers. She recognized that look. She'd seen it countless times in her own career. The subtle dismissal, the automatic assumptions. "Your Honor, I'd like to present evidence that the traffic signal was yellow when I entered the intersection." Kim's voice carried the precise diction of someone who'd argued before the Supreme Court. She began laying out her documentation with practiced efficiency. Judge Harrison's fingers drummed an impatient rhythm on his desk. "Ms. Rodriguez, are you an attorney?" His tone suggested he already knew the answer. "No, Your Honor, but I've prepared." "Then let's keep this simple," he interrupted, scanning the citation. "Officer Martinez is a decorated member of our police force. His report clearly states you ran a red light. Do you have any evidence besides your word against his?" Kim reached for her tablet. "Yes, Your Honor. I have video evidence from my Tesla's dashboard camera system synchronized with GPS timestamps. Additionally, I've obtained the traffic light sequence data from the Department of Transportation, which confirms. The sharp rap of Judge Harrison's gavel cut through her explanation. Ms. Rodriguez, this is traffic court, not the technology department. We don't need a presentation about your luxury car's features. A murmur rippled through the courtroom. The regular attendees, lawyers, officers, and court staff had never seen Judge Harrison quite so dismissive. Even his usual brusqueness had a certain professional courtesy. This felt personal. Kim maintained her composure, remembering similar moments from her early career. Your Honor, with all due respect, the evidence is relevant to my defense. The court finds the evidence unnecessary, Judge Harrison declared, his voice carrying the weight of 20 years of unquestioned authority. The fine is $500, due immediately. Next case. As Kim wrote the check, she noticed Officer Martinez shifting uncomfortably in his seat. Their eyes met briefly, and she gave him a reassuring nod. He was young, still learning, and today's hearing would eventually become a valuable lesson for him, too. The clerk processed her payment with practiced efficiency, unknowingly handling what would become one of the most discussed checks in the courthouse's history. Kim tucked her evidence folder back into her designer gym bag, her slight smile puzzling those who'd witnessed the exchange. In 1 week, that smile would make perfect sense. The State Appeals Court building stood proudly against the morning sky, its modern glass facade reflecting the sunrise. Judge Robert Harrison adjusted his navy silk tie, his lucky one, reserved for special occasions, as he rode the elevator to the 15th floor. His annual performance review wasn't usually cause for concern. 20 years of experience had earned him a reputation for running an efficient courtroom. The elevator doors opened to reveal polished marble floors and mahogany-paneled walls. Harrison's Italian leather shoes clicked confidently across the surface as he approached the conference room. Patricia Chen, his longtime colleague, greeted him in the hallway. "Robert, good morning," she smiled warmly. "They're running a bit behind schedule. The new panel head is quite thorough." Patricia's emphasis on thorough carried a weight that Harrison missed entirely. Inside his leather portfolio, Harrison carried detailed statistics about his courtroom's efficiency: cases processed per day, appeal rates, collection percentages. He even prepared a short presentation about his innovative approach to reducing repeat traffic offenders. The morning sun streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, casting long shadows across the empty conference table. A young clerk appeared, tablet in hand. "Judge Harrison, they're ready for you now." He gestured toward the main chamber, its heavy wooden doors standing open like the entrance to a theater stage. Harrison strode in, chest slightly puffed, ready to showcase his achievements. The review panel sat elevated at a curved desk, case files spread before them. His confident stride faltered mid-step as his eyes locked onto the central figure. Judge Kim Rodriguez sat in the panel chair, her judicial robes perfectly pressed, her posture radiating authority. The athletic wear was gone, replaced by the dignified garments of her office, but her face was unmistakable. To her right sat Judge Michael Patel, known for his expertise in judicial ethics, and to her left, Judge Isabella Torres, a respected authority on constitutional law. "Good morning, Judge Harrison." Kim's voice carried the same measured tone she used in his traffic court, but now it resonated with undeniable authority. "Please have a seat." Harrison's legs felt wooden as he made his way to the chair centered before the panel. His carefully prepared portfolio slipped slightly in suddenly damp palms. The room's temperature seemed to have risen 10 degrees. "We'll be reviewing several aspects of your judicial conduct today," Kim continued, her fingers trailing over a familiar-looking case file, her own traffic citation from the previous week, "including your approach to evidence evaluation, witness testimony, and," she paused, meeting his eyes directly, "your interaction with pro se defendants." The irony of the situation wasn't lost on the other panel members. Judge Torres subtly adjusted her glasses, hiding what might have been a smile. Judge Patel focused intently on his notes, maintaining his professional composure. Harrison's throat felt dry as sandpaper as he watched Judge Rodriguez open his case review file. His mind raced back to every dismissive word, every interruption, every assumption he'd made in that 15-minute traffic court session. The morning sun now felt uncomfortably warm on the back of his neck. "Shall we begin with your recent case statistics?" Kim's voice was professional, betraying no hint of personal satisfaction. But as she reached for the first file, Harrison could have sworn he saw the same slight smile she'd worn while writing that $500 check just days ago. Judge Kim Rodriguez opened the first file with graceful precision, her silver Mont Blanc pen poised over her notepad. The morning light streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows cast a subtle glow on the proceedings, highlighting the thin sheen of perspiration on Judge Harrison's forehead. "Let's begin with case management," she started, her voice carrying the same measured tone she used when addressing the Supreme Court. "Your courtroom processes an average of 42 cases per day, significantly higher than the state median. Could you walk us through how you maintain both efficiency and fairness with such a high volume?" Harrison cleared his throat, attempting to steady his voice. "Yes, Your Honor. I've implemented a streamlined approach too." He paused as Judge Torres raised an elegant eyebrow at a particular file. "Interesting," Judge Torres interjected, adjusting her wire-rimmed glasses. "I noticed that cases involving self-represented defendants average 7 minutes, while those with attorneys typically last 15 to 20 minutes. Her Chilean accent added gravity to the observation. Judge Patel leaned forward, his custom-tailored suit rustling softly. "Speaking of time management, I'd like to discuss a particular case from last week." He slid a familiar file toward the center of the table, Kim's traffic violation. 7 minutes, including evidence presentation. Rather brief for a contested ticket with video documentation, wouldn't you say? The room's temperature seemed to drop several degrees. Harrison's lucky navy tie felt uncomfortably tight as he watched Judge Rodriguez pick up the file. Her manicured fingers traced the edges of the paper, but her eyes remained fixed on him. "Your case notes indicate you denied the defendant's request to present technical evidence," Kim stated, her tone neutral but precise. "Could you explain the legal basis for that decision?" Around the room, law clerks typed furiously on their laptops, documenting every word. The gentle clicking of keyboards provided a rhythmic backdrop to Harrison's mounting discomfort. "I was concerned about setting a precedent," he managed, his earlier confidence evaporating like morning dew. "If every traffic case involved extensive technical presentations." "Fascinating perspective," Judge Torres commented, sharing a knowing look with Judge Patel. "Especially given the state Supreme Court's recent ruling on digital evidence in traffic disputes." Kim maintained her professional composure as she moved to the next topic. "Let's discuss appeal rates. Your decisions have been challenged 12% more frequently than the state average, with a particularly interesting pattern in cases involving minority defendants." The statistics painted a clear picture across the polished conference table. Charts and graphs displayed in crisp detail on the room's high-resolution screens told a story Harrison had never noticed, or perhaps had chosen not to see. "I assure you, Your Honors, I've always strived for fairness," Harrison offered, his voice carrying a hint of desperation. "We're not questioning your intentions, Judge Harrison," Kim responded, her tone softening slightly. "We're examining outcomes. In fact, your recent case," she paused, allowing the weight of their shared experience to hover in the air, "has provided an excellent practical example for our discussion." Judge Patel suppressed a smile as he watched his colleague masterfully balance professional duty with personal experience. The review was far from over, but already its impact was evident in Harrison's gradually shifting demeanor. Sometimes, he reflected, the most powerful lessons came wrapped in unexpected packages. As the review panel concluded, Judges Torres and Patel gathered their materials with practiced efficiency. The afternoon sun cast long shadows through the windows of the appeals court chamber, painting golden stripes across the polished conference table. "Judge Harrison," Kim's voice cut through the rustling of papers, Would you join me in my chambers? I believe we have a few matters to discuss privately. It wasn't really a question. Harrison followed her down the marble hallway, past a wall of portraits featuring previous appeals court judges. Kim's office occupied the corner suite, its floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the city skyline. A collection of framed degrees from Harvard Law shared wall space with traditional Korean artwork, a gift from her grandmother when Kim passed the bar exam. "Please, have a seat." Kim gestured to one of the leather chairs facing her desk. "Would you like some coffee? My assistant, Maya, makes an excellent pour-over using beans from my father's hometown in Colombia." Harrison nodded stiffly, his lucky tie now feeling like a noose. Kim pressed the intercom, requesting 2 coffees. The silence that followed felt heavy with unspoken words. 20 years ago, Kim began, settling into her chair. I was a first-year law student. During a mock trial competition, a judge dismissed my entire argument without letting me finish my opening statement. He said I didn't look like someone who understood corporate law. She paused as Maya entered with 2 artisanal coffee cups on a silver tray. The rich aroma of Colombian coffee filled the space between them. Harrison stared into the dark liquid, seeing his reflection ripple on its surface. "That moment could have broken me," Kim continued, adding a precise amount of cream to her cup. "Instead, it fueled me. I graduated first in my class, clerked for Justice Martinez at the Supreme Court, and became the youngest Superior Court judge in state history. I never meant to," Harrison started, but Kim raised her hand gently. "This isn't about blame, Robert. It's about awareness." She reached for a photo on her desk, turning it to face him. It showed a young Kim standing proudly next to her father outside a food truck. "My father built his business one tamale at a time. He taught me that true justice, like good food, requires patience, attention to detail, and respect for everyone at the table." Harrison's coffee remained untouched as he listened. The city lights began twinkling to life in the gathering dusk outside. "When you saw me in your courtroom," Kim continued, "you saw workout clothes and a Tesla key. You didn't see 20 years of legal experience or a Supreme Court clerkship. More importantly, you didn't see a person deserving of basic judicial courtesy." She stood, walking to the window. The last rays of sunlight caught the silver threads in her perfectly styled hair. "The wonderful thing about our profession, Robert, is that every day offers a new chance to deliver justice better than we did the day before." Turning back to face him, her expression softened. "The review panel's official recommendations will arrive next week, but unofficially. I hope this experience reminds you that every person who enters your courtroom has a story, has dignity, and deserves to be heard." Harrison finally lifted his coffee cup, the warm liquid helping to dissolve the lump in his throat. In the growing darkness of the office, judge and judge sat in contemplative silence, the city lights below bearing witness to a moment of transformation. The weekend after his review, Judge Harrison sat in his home office, surrounded by case files spread across his mahogany desk. The morning light filtered through Venetian blinds, creating striped patterns across years of judicial decisions. His usual Saturday tennis game at the country club remained unscheduled. Today required a different kind of exercise. His laptop displayed statistics he'd never bothered to examine before: average hearing durations, fine amounts, appeal rates, all sorted by demographics. The data told an uncomfortable story. Next to the computer sat a handwritten note from Officer James Martinez, requesting a meeting to discuss proper evidence evaluation protocols in traffic court. "Elizabeth," he called to his wife, who appeared in the doorway still in her gardening clothes. "Remember when we first started dating and you told me I needed to learn to listen more?" She leaned against the doorframe, a knowing smile crossing her face. "Only took you 30 years to hear that one, Robert." The gentle teasing in her voice carried decades of affection. Harrison turned back to his files, picking up a recent case. A young Latino student fined heavily for a broken taillight. He dismissed the boy's explanation about waiting for his financial aid to arrive. Now, he wondered how many similar stories he'd ignored over the years. His phone buzzed. A text from his daughter Sophie, a second-year law student. "Dad, Can we grab coffee? There's this amazing civil rights lecture series at school I want to tell you about." He smiled, typing back an immediate yes. At the local coffee shop, Sophie's enthusiasm bubbled over as she described her internship at the public defender's office. Harrison found himself seeing his daughter in a new light, not just as his little girl, but as part of a new generation of legal minds bringing fresh perspectives to old institutions. "You know, Dad," Sophie said, stirring her oat milk latte, "my supervisor says the most important skill in law isn't knowing all the statutes, it's empathy." She pulled out her tablet, showing him body camera footage from a recent case. "Look how different the situation appears when you take time to understand the full context." That evening, Harrison sat in his study again, this time composing an email to the State Judicial Education Board. His cursor blinked at the end of a sentence. "I would like to propose a workshop series on cognitive bias and modern evidence evaluation techniques." A notification popped up on his screen. The official review panel recommendations had arrived. Opening the document, he found Judge Rodriguez's evaluation to be firm but fair, highlighting areas for improvement while acknowledging his years of service. The last paragraph caught his attention. "While statistical efficiency in case management is valuable, true judicial excellence lies in ensuring every participant in our legal system feels heard, respected, and treated with equity. We recommend Judge Harrison's court as an excellent candidate for piloting new judicial training programs." Harrison leaned back in his chair, remembering the young lawyer he'd been, full of ambition and certainty. Now, 30 years later, he was learning perhaps the most important lesson of his career. His eyes drifted to a new addition on his office wall, a framed quote from Thurgood Marshall. "In recognizing the humanity of our fellow beings, we pay ourselves the highest tribute." The setting sun cast a warm glow through his office window as he began drafting a new set of courtroom protocols. Sometimes, he realized, the most significant judgments were the ones you made about yourself. 6 months later, the grand ballroom of the Renaissance Hotel sparkled with the warmth of 1,000 tiny lights. The annual Judicial Excellence Awards dinner had drawn judges, attorneys, and legal professionals from across the state. At a corner table, Officer James Martinez sat in his dress uniform, now wearing the silver bars of a newly promoted sergeant. Judge Kim Rodriguez stood at her table near the podium, elegant in a deep blue evening gown, chatting with Judge Torres about their upcoming judicial mentorship program. Her father, now owner of a successful chain of Colombian fusion restaurants, beamed proudly from the next table, having just catered the entire event with a unique blend of traditional and modern cuisine. "And now," announced Chief Justice William Chen, his voice carrying across the hushed ballroom, "we come to our final presentation of the evening, the Innovation in Judicial Practice Award." Judge Harrison adjusted his bow tie, not his lucky one, but a new one gifted by his daughter Sophie. She sat beside him, having just passed the bar exam, her presence a reminder of how much had changed in half a year. "This year's recipient," continued Chief Justice Chen, "has demonstrated remarkable leadership in transforming judicial practices. Under their guidance, their court has implemented groundbreaking programs in bias awareness, technological evidence evaluation, and community engagement." Ken caught Harrison's eye across the room, giving him a subtle nod. Their weekly coffee meetings had evolved from awkward encounters into productive discussions about modernizing the justice system. Judge Robert Harrison, Chief Justice Chen announced, "Please join us at the podium." The applause echoed through the ballroom as Harrison made his way forward. Standing at the microphone, he gazed out at the assembled faces, colleagues, friends, and family, all witnesses to his journey. "6 months ago," he began, "I thought I knew everything about delivering justice. I was wrong." A gentle murmur rippled through the crowd. True justice isn't just about knowing the law, it's about seeing the humanity in every person who enters our courtrooms. He gestured toward Kim. "I learned this lesson through the wisdom and professionalism of Judge Rodriguez, who turned what could have been a moment of humiliation into an opportunity for growth." Kim raised her glass in acknowledgement as Harrison continued, "Together, we've created the Fresh Eyes Initiative, a program that pairs experienced judges with diverse law students and community members to review court practices and suggest improvements. The presentation screen behind him displayed statistics from his court's latest quarter, reduced appeal rates, improved satisfaction scores, and positive feedback from all community segments. But it was the personal stories that truly showcased the transformation, like the young student with the broken taillight who now interned at the courthouse while finishing his degree. This award, Harrison concluded, holding up the crystal trophy, belongs to everyone who has helped me learn that every case deserves not just a hearing, but understanding. Every person deserves not just a verdict, but respect. As the applause swelled, Sophie wiped a proud tear from her eye. At the back of the room, Officer Martinez, now teaching evidence evaluation at the police academy, smiled, remembering the traffic stop that had started it all. The evening concluded with the announcement of the state's new judicial mentorship program, co-chaired by Judges Rodriguez and Harrison. As cameras flashed and congratulations flowed, Kim and Robert shared a knowing look. Sometimes the most powerful changes in the justice system started with a simple traffic ticket and an unexpected lesson in humility.